Have yourself a merry
Christmas at our home has always been a real special occasion. Grandmother and Granddaddy comes down and many times during Christmas, and Grandmother makes Christmas ornaments with all the children's names on them.
from now on.
And Diane and her family come in,
Troubles will be out of sight.
and every year we look forward to the fun, the music.
Out of sight.
Granddaddy brings his banjo. There's always lots of dancing. Always lots of singing. And did I mention dancing? And the food?
Beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
That is, if you got teeth to eat it with. And getting enough to eat can sometimes be a chore, except it never seems to bother Scott.
Take a look in the 5 and 10. Listen and
This is the story of our family's life,
Candy cane
and is dedicated to our three sons, for them to remember their childhood and the close family ties that they had growing up. And you're right, Scott. We need to start at the very beginning. It all began at Georgetown College when your mom and I were married in 1960, and almost 6.5 years later, after we'd just about given up on having kids, we were blessed with our firstborn, Jeffrey Franklin Conrad. He was the cutest thing, and Grandmother just went crazy over him. We took him everywhere. He did everything. We took lots of pictures. How's this thing work anyway? And at 9 months, Jeff was almost all ready to stand alone. Now, hold on just a minute, Mom. Let me help. And old Jeff loved everything.
Was there at my command, love.
Now, all boys have to have a dog. And Petey and Jeff, well, man, they were partners.
My home is on my back. I know every inch of highway, every foot of back road, every mile of railroad track.
You couldn't separate these two. After a while, it was hard to figure out who was getting the best of each other. And it soon became pretty apparent that if old Jeff's going to handle this man-eating dog, he's going to have some help. And who says that lightning can't strike twice? But just 18 months later, we were blessed with our second son, Kevin Lee. Just 2 days after Thanksgiving, he really gave us something to be thankful for.
My lonely days
And yep, Jeff's lonely days were over. He had a partner.
and life is like a song.
Get your hand.
Now, Kevin was a pretty happy guy, clapping his hands and enjoying the ride. He found all kind of ways to get around. Matter of fact, he took his learning experience of how to get around from 2 dimensions, both horizontal and vertical.
Yeah, that happy too is your step.
Look at the bottom of those feet.
Be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade with my blues on parade, but now I'm not afraid, 'cause this rover has crossed over. If I never have a cent,
Now, Jeff and Kevin became quite the pair, for they were the rulers of 635 Charberry Road.
Dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street.
Sometimes it was tough keeping up in a smaller bike. It just made sense to grab that bike and pull it along. But grandmother and granddaddy took every moment they could find to spend with these boys. And they made sure that every birthday and Christmas was celebrated. Kevin remained a little bit cautious. He's still not sure about this guy, Santa Claus. But these guys sure did know how to party.
On parade, but now I'm not afraid, 'cause it's a rover.
Now, opening the present can sometimes be a little bit of a problem. Kevin's got this deal figured out, though.
I'll be rich as
Just dump it.
drunk fella. Let me go.
And sometimes a toy train can just be scary.
On the sunny side.
And so working that hard just makes you want to chow down.
Side of the street.
Well, it's beginning to look a whole lot like Christmas. And Christmas in our home is just like right out of a storybook.
It's beginning.
It's a Christmas story, except we don't have rabbit pajamas. We got matching house coats.
Everywhere you go, take a look in the fire.
But Mama still has to get them coats on those boys.
With candy canes and silver lanes aglow, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front.
Now, what happened next was a very bold and life-changing event, and most people thought we were just plain foolish. But without knowing anyone else in the area, we picked up and moved to Paducah, Kentucky, and with a little more than $100 in our pocket when we finally got there, we started our own business, Conrad's Pianos and Organs.
Guess what makes that little old ant think he'll move that
Now,
rubber
boys, this is exactly the song your mom sang to me when we drove past an open field going into Paducah that had a sign that said, "Future site of the Paducah Mall." And I said, "There's where our new store is going to be." And she started singing this song. As a matter of fact, we both sang it. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. So our business was a huge success.
goes another rubber tree plant.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine.
Our grand opening was a huge success, and I've always thought that the reason for it was our son, Kevin.
Zippity-yay.
Now, Kevin was just 4 years old, but he was on TV, on our commercials, playing the organ, and everybody came in and wanted to see the little boy they'd seen on TV, and our business grew in leaps and bounds. Oops, there is a learning curve, you know.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay.
Fertile fields are never far away.
Now, we were working in high cotton, and the grand opening was just another reason to get together. Diane and her family coming in from Lexington to help us celebrate. And always grandmother and granddaddy right there, mainly just to be there with their grandbabies.
Never far away. We were walking in high cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Leaving home was the hardest thing we ever faced. We were walking in high cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Those fertile fields are never far away. We were walking in high cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Leaving home was the hardest thing we ever faced. Walking in high cotton.
Well, Cadillacs and houseboats and airplanes and trips to Disneyland and around the world are just a part of what is to come in the future. Your granddad, your mom, and I found ourselves on the way to Holland. And if you're going to Holland, you got to have custom-built wooden shoes. And from Vienna, Austria, we found ourselves on a train to Salzburg, to the beautiful castle where the sound of music was made. Now, the house in the middle of the field was reported to be the hangman's home, where nobody wanted to live around him. He lived by himself. And once again, we found ourselves on the plane to the exotic city of Tangiers, Morocco. Now, the Arab snake charmers told us these snakes were so venomous that if they bit you within less than a minute, you'd be dead. Well, we didn't stick around to see if he died. I guess he'd been bit so many times he's immune to it. Now, how many people get the chance to be a royal sultan?
Let me tell you about Ahab, the Arab, the sheik of the burning sands. He had emeralds and rubies just a dripping off of him, and a ring on every finger of his hand. He wore a big old turban wrapped around his head and a scimitar by his side. And every evening about midnight, he'd jump on his camel named Clyde. And you could hear him talk to his camel as he rode out across the dunes. His voice would cut through the still night desert air, and he'd say, "Oh, yo, yo, which is Aramaic for whoa, babies, and Clyde say, well, he brought his camel to a screeching halt.
Then 15 years after we were married, it happened again. Now, Scott was a surprise, and I was so happy that way before he was born, I dreamed of this scene. There he was, with his bright red hair peeking through the stair rails. But the words of this song seem to describe my feelings much better than I can.
Wait turned into hours before you came my way. A smile that filled a daddy's heart on that special day. The moment left me speechless. I didn't know what to say. Took your first breath, that took mine away. Days go by so quickly, summer turns to fall. Seems like only yesterday that you began to crawl. Afraid to take that step, I'll catch you when you fall. I don't mind if you leave behind a few handprints on the wall. I can't describe this feeling down deep inside. The itsy bitsy spider was the first thing that we tried. And patty cake, the baker's man, with your hands so very small. Stay this young, and I wouldn't mind at all. Days go by so quickly, summer turns to fall. Seems like only yesterday that you began to crawl. So don't be afraid to take that step. I'll catch you if you fall. I won't mind if you leave behind a few handprints on the wall.
These were no doubt happy times in your growing up years, and your memories still linger on the streets of Marydale Drive. It's been said if you listen closely on warm summer nights that you can still hear the cheers from the teeny boppers cheering the chosen few. And you could still hear that red-headed Irish tenor whose voice still echoes through the halls of Marydale Drive. These are the memories I hope you keep in your hearts. And that is knowing that you've been the center of your family's attention and knowing that you were raised around love and admiration. For you've grown up knowing integrity and knowing that your parents may not always agree with you, but no matter what, knowing that you're loved. And it's these roots that have helped make you into the fine young men you've become. And you can know that your parents are proud of you, each of you. This truly is Christmas in my old Kentucky home. The snow is falling. The sidewalks are all white. The smell of hickory smoke is in the air. There's a peaceful feeling to watch this silent night. I stood there by the window and just stared. Grandmother's in the kitchen and a smile is on her face. She told Dad after she got off the phone. She said the kids are on the way and they'll be here tonight for Christmas in my old Kentucky home. There's nothing to compare with Christmas in Kentucky, Christmas at my old Kentucky home. There's no place in this world that I would rather be than Christmas in my old Kentucky home. 20 years down the road, grandbabies are all grown. Now they've all got children of their own. Grandmother's in the kitchen, there's a smile still on her face. She's been waiting for this moment all year long. There's twice as many now. We need another table. The kids will need big cushions to sit on. Get the high chair from the attic and bring the crib down too, 'cause it's Christmas at my old Kentucky home. Grandpa's chair is empty. Guess I'll sit there in his place. He's gone to be with Jesus on his throne. There's an empty spot in Grandma's heart, but a smile still on her face. It's Christmas in my old Kentucky home. There's nothing to compare with Christmas in Kentucky, Christmas at my old Kentucky home. There's no place in this world that I would rather be than Christmas in my old Kentucky home. It's Christmas at my old Kentucky home.